Morning, security gang. Welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast. My name is James Azar. I'm the host and Chief Information Security Officer. Thank you all for tuning in this morning, January 7th, 2026. How's the new year been for all of y'all? A week in, I'd love to know, how's it been thus far? Let me know in the comments wherever you're watching or listening. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X, Twitch. We're also available on all your podcast listening platforms, so go check it out there. Let's get into this morning's show. We have a lot to talk about, folks, and I mean a ton. So on this morning's show, we're going to be talking about Jaguar Land Rover's wholesale volumes plunging post-cyber attack, the UK unveiling a cyber action plan because the old one didn't work, Taiwan reports a tenfold surge in cyber attacks and energy. We'll talk about that because we talked about it yesterday on the show. Today, we're going to get into the details. Android patching a critical Dolby flaw, and then we'll hit urgent patches in Veeam, N8N, LockBit 5.0's return, an actively exploited D-Link router bug, and Toddycat exchange intrusion, all on the horizon for today's show. So let's get right into it. But before we do, I've got my double espresso this morning. That level of foam is just expert. This is a Lavazza Super Crema espresso capsule because I'm running late this morning. I'm like really, really late. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. All right. Let's get into the show this morning. Jaguar Land Rover's wholesale volumes dropped over 43% after the cyber attack. Now, this is rare public P&L dent from an actual cyber event. And I mean, significant, 43%, folks. Production and logistics interruptions rippled into their sales numbers. And that's going to be significant because the outage constrained deliveries and inventory flow, especially on some of their high demand models. Even with manufacturing, started recovery back in end of October, beginning of November. Downstream distribution and retail channels still lagged. And that kind of goes into the entire challenge Jaguar Land Rover had and why they needed a £1.5 billion bailout from the British government. The sales declined in all markets compared to last year, with North America experiencing a 64% drop in wholesale volume. I mean, Europe had a 48% drop, China a 46% drop. The UK market didn't decrease as much, only 0.9%, but that's likely because that was the easiest market to supply given the interruption. It's local. They didn't have all the logistics and everything else that goes into having to ship their vehicles overseas. The company also revealed in their financial results published in November that the cost of the cyber attack was nearly $220 million for the quarter. The Bank of England said the country's GDP was weaker than expected in Q3, flagging JLR's cyber attack as one of the key reasons. I mean, folks, this is all from a cyber attack. We're talking about something like it was an act of war, like a national disaster. It's a cyber attack. This is groundbreaking stuff. It really, really is, because this is where the CISOs get to put on their big boy pants or big girl pants. And as you talk about this, you now have some realistic numbers when you talk about cyber risk to the business. A 43% drop in your sales globally is significant. That's not a number that many companies could sustain over a period of time without having to do layoffs, without having to do a whole bunch of stuff there. Watch any business who says we dropped 40% in sales and tell me what their next course of action is. This cyber attack was catastrophic for Jaguar Land. Catastrophic. And I hate to see it because I don't wish them ill. But we've also been talking about this in cyber in circles for ages. When will the wake-up call come? Will this be it? Doubtful, but it should be. It absolutely should be. Okay, we're going to stay in the UK, excuse me there, where UK government issue a cyber action plan after announcing that all other policies have failed. No. This is the UK government reeling from Jaguar Land. This is what this is. This is, we got smacked in the face. One of our biggest companies that accounts for about 4% of our GDP got paralyzed, down 43%. Everything we've done thus far has failed. So now we're going to try to switch it up. Now, let's see if their switch up actually makes any sense. So here's what the Brits are talking about. Regulators want to signpost what regulators do, like critical industries and public suppliers will be asked to do next. Expect tighter incident reporting timelines. Nope. Now they're going to go on baseline controls. Okay, I like that. MFA, logging, vulnerability remediation, supply chain assurance like SBOM or VEX, and resilience testing for essential services. Welcome to the big leagues. Welcome to the big leagues, DK. This is significant. This is a unusually candid admission on behalf of the Brits. They're describing numerous failures and how Whitehall currently defends its own digital systems. And the government presented the Government Cyber Action Plan as a major policy. The document was presented to Parliament by the Department for Science, Innovation, and Technology. And they want to build a powerful government cyber unit. So they want to build their own version of CISO. Good for you. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the party. The Brits are waking up, folks. The Brits are waking up. The question is it too late? Are they waking up too late to the party? Meaning, are they showing up at the end where no matter what they do, it won't help there? We'll get into more details on this separately of what their program is all about. I had to get the show ready this morning really, really quickly. So I didn't have a chance to go into depth. So allow me to go into depth on it potentially tomorrow. If not, then it'll be part of our Saturday article that y'all can get on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. So yesterday we talked about China and Taiwan and the amount of attacks China puts on Taiwan, which was 26.2. But out of that number, when you do a little bit deeper, a deep dig onto it, you see that they've increased their tenfolds their attacks on Taiwan's energy sector, which tells you everything you need to know about what they're trying to do there with Taiwan. So the geopolitical is landing on real-world utilities in Taiwan. IT friction could delay maintenance, billing, and even outages coordination, even when OT stays up. But they're targeting that in order to have that ability. Now, over the weekend, when the United States Army, Air Force, and Navy, the Armada, went in to grab narco-terrorists and deposed president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, there's a bunch of videos out there of Venezuelans that were just randomly live streaming as they're walking down the streets of Caracas. And all of a sudden you saw everything go pitch black. I mean, everything went pitch black. President Trump hinted at the fact that this was done at the dark of night, using only tools we can do. One, this has not been confirmed by folks over at the Pentagon. One would assume that because they thanked the NSA and Cyber Command and a few others that a cyber attack on the energy sector shut down all of the electrical grid in Caracas for the length of the operation to extract narco-terrorist Nicolas Maduro and his wife and bring them to justice in the United States. One can only assume that. But if you know that we did it, that was a message to China as well. That was a message to Russia, everyone trolling in critical infrastructure. Don't assume that because, we catch you, we advertise because of the freedom of press and the people needing to know the threats that they face. In China and Russia, that's not the case. They're not really honest with their people, not to the fullest point. But we just saw what happened in Venezuela. Now, these attacks on Taiwan are part of also what could have been an invasion plan by China in trying to take over the island. And it could have been that, knowing that that would be part of their plan, we kind of ran in and showed them like, yep, here's how we did it. And we know what you would do. This is your playbook. Look, there was a message to China in the fact that we went and extracted him hours after meeting the high-end Chinese delegation that was in town to tighten relations with the narco-terrorist and with Venezuela, the Venezuelan socialist government there. So all of that coming into play. Again, you got to read in between more, but that's why this story becomes even more relevant, because their TTPs there include credential abuse, living off the land in Windows estates, and even phishing of vendors in Taiwan. That's how China has been operating in attacking the Taiwanese energy sector. So you've got to really tighten your environments there if you're part of that, or if you rely on it in any sort of way. you do really want to kind of go down your list there and tighten controls, taking the CIS model and just tightening your controls around your entire network as kind of a start off. All right, let's get into some vulnerabilities here, and let's rush through these because this show's 15 minutes and we're 11 in. All right, Android patching a critical Dolby vulnerability. This is CVE 2025-549 or 57. This lives on device your staff can carry into every single meeting. A media stack bug in Dolby components enables remote code execution via crafted media. So this is significant. You want to push the January patch level on your OEM equivalent, tighten MDM policies on side-loaded apps and codecs, and block unknown media attachments on your managed devices in Android. That'll go a long way there. We'll move to Veeam, who are also patching a critical vulnerability on their end. This is CVE 2025-59 or 470. This is a critical remote code execution on the backup infrastructure equals ransomware insurance and attacker gold. So this has a CVSS score of 9.0. You want to patch immediately and remove public management access, rotate repo credentials and service accounts, and alert on any unexpected restore or export jobs from there. The remote code execution bug is rated critical, and its flaws in the backup and replication software there. So make sure you get this patched up ASAP. Moving to the open source workflow automation platform N8N, where they're warning of a CVSS with a 10.0 remote code execution. That's CVE 2026-21877, folks. That's the first 2026 CVE of the year here on the show. It's January 7th, so mark that as an accomplishment. The low-code automation often runs with broad secrets, so you want to update the fixed builds, lock the admin's UI behind VPN and IP allow list, rotate API keys stored in N8N, and audit workflow executions for any sort of suspicious calls there. That new one is up and running. This is, again, significant, and it's all been addressed in version 1.121.3, which was released in November of 25. So there's that. LockBit 5.0 is emerging. LockBit has always been a strand of malware and ransomware we've all despised. The brand's alive despite multiple takedowns. Expect faster initial access to impact. With this version, you want to patch Kev items first, kill exposed VPNs without MFA, and hunt for any common loader chains like Office, Archives, and LOL bins that run DLL32, Mashta, or PowerShell all together there. And then look at the typical TTPs of LockBit. That'll help you there as well. Threat actors are exploiting a D-Link flaw in legacy DSL routers. That's right, that are being actively exploited. DSL. When was the last time you heard that, folks? Edge devices and small office and branches where DSL is still a thing are becoming footholds into corporate SaaS environments. The replace end-of-life gear now where you're stuck. Isolate behind ISP router or firewall. Disable remote admins and monitor for DNS changes or any sort of unusual egress on those routers if you have them. Typically places with DSL don't have any other options, so get Starlink. If you can't do anything else, you're better off. Dottycat malware here is compromising Microsoft Exchange servers. This is significant. It's a long dwell espionage via mail servers and IIS modules that is still working. You want to get to the supported Exchange builds, enable extended protection, and rotate service creds and certs, and hunt for rogue modules like mailbox export spikes or even odd child processes that could be born out of there. This group's been operating since December of 2020. Their capabilities expanded in February of 2021 when proxy logon. They're still taking advantage of that, and they're doing credential harvesting and defense evasion mechanisms all into place to launch the Dottycat, who dumps browser memory to extract safe passwords from Chrome, Firefox, and Edge browser. Why you should never save your passwords in your browsers and always save them in a password manager. That's really, really critical. That's it for our show today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest. Until then, go check out CyberHubPodcast.com for a lot of exclusive content. And most importantly, subscribe, follow, share, like, comment, and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.